I'm Lisa Morales-Hellebo. Everything she said, thank you so much. I come to you from New York today, and I love talking to students because most people think that fashion is an area that doesn't have any true innovation or technology. So I wonder how many of you have ever heard of the term fashion tech? Raise your hand if you have. Oh, a few. And how many of you are interested in potentially working in that space? Any? Oh, you will be after my talk. Yeah. Ah, one in the front. Excellent. I don't know where. Do you have? I'll start talking about the space. So fashion globally is a $2.4 trillion industry. It's massive. And it is the #2 polluting industry on the planet. I mean, isn't that mind-boggling? It's only behind oil and gas as destroying the planet we live on. And we'll get into why in my deck. But it is ripe with opportunity because this industry hasn't really changed since the beginning of time. Things today are still done the same way that they have been for hundreds of years, and that is by hand. Every single garment that you wear, a human has touched and stitched. And unfortunately, now a lot of the big brands and retailers are producing overseas, and it has a lot of slave and child labor that gets you your fast fashion, or any type of fashion, really. Oh, here we go, yay. That's my stuff. Thank you. All righty. I'm way better with visuals. Thank you. All right, that's me. Yay. So what do you think of when you think of the fashion industry? Mostly this, right? Sexy models walking down runways. It's pretty glamorous and exciting. But it's also this, which kind of sucks. And nobody likes shopping when that's your experience. This is also what you should be thinking about. Who made your clothes? How many of you are familiar with Rana Plaza, this building collapse in 2013? Anyone? This was a global tragedy that started shining a spotlight on how your clothes are truly made and what the true cost is. Over, I believe it was something like 1,300 humans died that day because they're in a building that they didn't care about the conditions for their workers, and it wasn't safe. It collapsed on everyone inside. So I would say the current fashion supply chain is extremely broken. It looks something like this to make a garment. It's pretty complicated. It looks way, way overcomplicated in that you have to plan, design, develop, approve, and there's so many layers throughout the system to get a single design to manufacturing and then back to the store and to the consumer. There's got to be a better way. As I mentioned, it's the #2 polluting industry in the world, only behind oil and gas. Did you know it takes 2,720 liters of water to make a single t-shirt? That is the amount that the average person drinks over 3 years for your one t-shirt. Child labor, this is extremely prevalent, and only about 40% of the fashion industry actually reports anything about their supply chain, their manufacturing. And if they do have reporting, it's because one of their employees went to the factories, did an inspection, and usually on those days of the inspection, all of these children are brought somewhere else, and they bring in, temporary people that are of the right age and wearing the right garments in the right conditions to take their place. So it's really hard to verify your supply chain when it's halfway around the world and they're expecting you to drop by for an inspection. The price of safety and dignity for these people really comes down to as little as $2 per item that we purchase. And yet the industry, obviously, is all about their bottom line. And that $2 they would rather have in their pockets. I believe there is a better way, and I've been working towards figuring out what that solution could be and could look like since 2014 after building the New York Fashion Tech Lab. So fashion tech, as I define it, is basically everything that's at the intersection of fashion, retail, and technology. So that's a pretty big space, because if you think about fashion, it's not just the end product that everyone sees and purchases. There's a massive global industry that impacts over 40 million workers around the globe. It's $2.4 trillion. 250 billion of that is purchases made in the US. And 3.4 billion of that is Amazon alone, and growing. So this is what the fashion industry has traditionally broken down into. There's 4 segments here: sourcing, product, advertising and promo, sales and distribution. And so if you think of sourcing, of course, there's thread, there's textiles, there's all your buttons and finishings. Product, everything is designed by hand, and if any of you watch Project Runway, you know the process is pretty hands-on. You go to Mood, you pick your fabrics and everything, make your little mood boards and pin things up, do your sketches. Advertising and promo historically has been telling you everything that's wrong about you. And that's supposed to make you want to buy their clothes. Sales and distribution, brick and mortar. Brick and mortar was the only way that stores could get their goods to you. But all of this has drastically changed. Sourcing now. Anyone know what that image is under sourcing? Any guesses? It's not a thread like used to be there. What's it? It is genetically engineering textiles in a lab and being able to lab grow things like genetically lab grown leather. Whereas cows don't come in endless sheets. You can now grow your leather in endless sheets in a lab. Product, pretty cool, huh? Product, instead of the Project Runway way, where you go to Mood and you do all your sketches, there are now platforms where you can do all your design digitally and actually see how your textile drapes on a human form, change that model, and see how it'll look on someone plus size or petite or super tall, and truly understand what the end product will look like and who you will sell to and who it will drape the best on before you even produce that garment, even as a sample. Advertising and promo. So this lady looks a lot different than that skinny Gucci model. She is unapologetic and really body confident. This is the new face of marketing. It's finally, thanks to social media, acceptable to be who you are and have brands conform to you instead of the other way around. And it's about damn time, I think. Sorry. Sales and distribution. So now everyone purchases online, right? How many of you purchase on Amazon? Everyone. How many of you have purchased fashion from Amazon? Good amount. So sales and distribution obviously has been digitized. And you can purchase anything in the world online now. But there are so many other new channels that are emerging that people even 10, 15 years ago couldn't imagine. So right now, that's an image of Amazon Prime Wardrobe. Have any of you used Prime Wardrobe? You have? So Prime Wardrobe, you can select everything you think you might want to buy, and they send it to you in a box, a wardrobe. Before you even pay for it, you try on the things you get in the box, you send back what you don't want, and they charge you for what you keep. So it eliminates the issue of, oh, well, I don't know how to look on me. There are so many new consumer experiences that are changing how a consumer engages with a brand and their products. Sourcing. This is Modern Meadow. This is one of the many companies that is has pioneered genetically lab-grown leathers. And as you can see, it looks no different. It is actual leather. Bolt Threads, this is another amazing innovation. They are pioneering biomimicry applied to textiles. So they have patents 10 to the 64th power of possible biomimicry applications in textiles. And the first one they rolled out was actually spider silk. They lab grow spider silk, and because they're genetically replicating it, they can play with its elasticity, with its strength, and spider silk is already pretty darn strong, but they can play with all of its properties. They also are doing lab-grown leather, but their leather is based on mushrooms. Pinatex. Do you guys have pineapples on the island? You have resources. You can be making your very own lab-grown pineapple leather. Who knew? You have a massive opportunity for a textile industry right here on the island. Moose skin. This is another mushroom leather. If you can grow mushrooms, you can make some moose skin leather. Drapel. This is a company that actually came through the New York Fashion Tech Lab, and they are not lab growing textiles, but they're creating new properties for textiles. They have stain repellent, microbacterial repellent, and basically a textile that can't get dirty. I know I could use that, especially for my boys. Evernew. This is one of my favorite new companies because all of the other companies I was showing you just now, they're based on creating new types of textiles. Well, we have plenty of existing textiles that are out and about in the world. Evernew is thinking about circularity, and circularity really is the future of every industry, but particularly pertaining to fashion because of the amount of waste. We throw out clothing thinking it's garbage and it's killing our planet. So they take any existing textile and can break it down to the molecular level, reconstitute it into new fiber, and spin it into new textiles that replicate cotton, rayon, or silk. And it can go through that process of regeneration up to 4 times before it breaks down to its sugars. That is the future of fashion. These are notions. They're all the little finishings and details that fashion designers need to choose at Mood or sampling at different sourcing events around the globe. Well, now, instead of all that travel and cost and searching, they can just download and 3D print what their notions look like to see if it's worth, see if it's worth the effort to go and actually purchase that specialty item that's from Italy. Digital printing. It's not just for banners and posters, it is for textiles now. You can print any textile with any pattern you want and turn it into your own unique design. This is Lesuc, another New York-based company. They have taken the simple notion of sourcing, where, again, fashion designers and huge brands have to fly around the world to find textiles and to source their organic, fair trade cotton. But now Lesuc has pulled all of the largest textile mills in the world into one platform. And you can directly online type in organic fair trade cotton and even choose Africa. I want my organic fair trade cotton from Africa as opposed to India. And they pull up all of the textile mills that offer that specific type of material. You can order samples and swatches, and it reduces the amount of travel that brands and designers have to do to actually source their raw materials. How many of you are familiar with blockchain? Anyone hear of blockchain technology? One person in the back. Anyone else? So, how many of you have heard of cryptocurrency? Crypto, yeah, okay. That uses blockchain. It's just a new type of data structure, and blockchain is being applied to supply chains around the globe. There's millions of other use cases besides just cryptocurrency. Of course, that's the sexy thing that everyone likes to talk about. But provenance is a blockchainification of your supply chain. So as an example, you can literally see who the producer was of your cotton, who grew the cotton, who turned it into a fiber, who turned it into a textile, who the designer was, all the way through your supply chain until you purchase it. And then they have little labels where you can actually scan it as a consumer and see the entire blockchain. So full transparency, as opposed to what I showed you at the beginning with the child labor and slave labor and unsafe working conditions. These are all verified across a ledger and fully transparent to everyone along the process. Product. This is a fun part. So this is the Project Runway type fashion design. That's Stella McCartney. This is how design has always been done. But what if you got to participate in fashion's creation? You could actually design everything. What does that mean to the brands that you know and love if you are creating the product and they're just producing it? It's about an experience. This is a couple of experimental companies that my friend Mary Huang created in New York. She is a designer and technologist, and she created a company called Construct, where any user can get on the site, upload a photo, choose what type of dress they would like to produce, and put that photo on, manipulate the photo, scale it to see how it looks in that design, get it custom measured to them, and produced and delivered within 2 weeks. And it's about $250. Totally custom. Nobody else in the world will have that dress. Another couple of her experiments, D-Dress by Continuum. This is another playful experiment in co-creation of fashion. She has a model, that sketch in the middle, online. You can move your mouse and stretch the 3D forms and create a very structural garment, and then purchase it. And that's the finished product. How many of you are familiar with Balenciaga? Very fancy fashion. Yeah, lots of. So this could very easily be a Balenciaga garment. It's stunning. And it also happens to be fully 3D printed. So are these. And so are these. How many of you would love to design your shoe or go and purchase a Gucci shoe, but you're not purchasing the actual shoe, you're purchasing the digital asset that represents the shoe, and you can 3D print it and download it. So you can have that shoe that only was designed in Italy, but you can print it and produce it in your home very soon that night, as opposed to having to fly around the world to purchase this exclusive item. So all the humans that are involved in this process are going to have to be retrained. There's a massive opportunity for a redistribution of global wealth and ownership, because things like software are fully automating the entire process. Right now, robots haven't been able to handle fabric because they tend to really work well with things that are rigid, but fabric isn't rigid, and there's so many different weights and tactile qualities to different types of textiles that it's been really hard for robots to handle. But software automation has created a process through that machine where you see the fabric and that big pressure thing down on it, and it's like an air hockey table sort of sucking the textiles down, where now you don't need any humans to interact with the product to actually sew it. So think about what that will do to the existing global economies where you have so many slave labor and child labor and around the world in India and China and now Vietnam and Africa. This is going to disrupt everything, but it also will create new opportunities, because these new innovations, and they still require humans to operate them, and if you're willing to get trained, these are now six-figure salaries of skilled labor that require just a certification, as opposed to all the slave labor to produce garments at pennies on the dollar. Sobo is a company that came and presented at the New York Supply Chain Meetup. This is an alternate approach to being able to handle any textile with a robot. He actually created a polymer where you can dip the textile into this polymer and it makes it temporarily rigid. So a robot can pick it up and manipulate it and sew it, and then you wash it after it's been produced and it goes back to its original state. Every garment you purchase currently goes through a wash as the finishing of its process, so it's another way to approach this problem. How many of you have secretly wanted to actually design and produce your own garments? Anyone? I know I do. I think it would be awesome. If you're so inclined, you can do it now through Maker's Row. This is a website that's like the kind of Yelp or a directory of all of the made in the USA manufacturers of pretty much anything, but they are heavily penetrated in American apparel manufacturing. They even have services that can help you design, pick out your materials, and fully execute your product as a one-off. 19th Amendment. This is another company that went through the New York Fashion Tech Lab. They launched during the program, and during the program, they got an exclusive partnership with Macy's to do a one-year pilot where they actually brought emerging designers into Macy's, and everything was samples. You didn't have a full garment to walk out of the store with. You tried on the sample, and everything would be pre-ordered and only produced once you purchased it. This, again, seems simple, but it's a massive innovation when it comes to this industry's supply chain. Right now, everyone is trying to produce massive volumes, tens of thousands of garments overseas, ship them around the world, hope that people will buy them. It's just an upside-down, broken process. So 19th Amendment has changed that. It's a fashion designer that saw a better way, and she has a platform where you can shop emerging designers from around the globe, and pre-order. They're not cheap, but they're also not terribly expensive compared to other garments. It's not fast fashion, but it is you're supporting an emerging designer and getting a limited run product that is actually better for the planet. This is a company in New York where you could walk in, have your body scanned, and sorry, it's only for men, but you can get a fully custom designed suit, down to picking your collar type, your fabrics, your buttons, everything. The future is all about you. This is one of my favorite. Thursday Finest is literally creating knitwear on demand. You can go into their store in New York, design your own ties, socks, sweaters, and they are digitally knitted on the spot in the store that you can walk out with. Optitex has really been leading the way in all of the digital design and pre-production planning for products. They are the ones that pioneered the actual models. You can change the way they stand because someone's posture will change how a garment will drape on that person. So they've led the way, and now you can fully design your product digitally, get the patterns optimized for production, and send it through your Gerber system to be laser cut. This is Gerber. So this is, on the bottom, is what your actual pattern looks like when it's laid on a sheet of textiles to be cut. They need to optimize the use of that textile real estate so they can minimize the waste. And that, in and of itself, is like a jigsaw puzzle. Jor is a company out of New York where you now, as a store or a retailer, can shop the world and place your orders for products without ever having to fly around the globe to discover emerging brands. How many of you have heard of this project? It's called Jacquard by Google. Anyone? It's a wearable, yeah? It's a wearable technology that Google and Levi's collaborated on. And the future of, I believe, everything is through collaboration. This product actually allowed the user to take phone calls through their jacket and has integrated digital fibers and technology. It is yet to be seen if that is the future of wearables. I personally happen to think that there are better applications. Like this. This is Owlet. It actually is a built-in monitor. I don't know if any of you have kids. You all are kids, so any of the older people in the room that have kids, I know I was paranoid when I had my first kid. This gives you their heart rate, their breathing, their temperature, all of those stats constantly. Lumia Tile. Did you know all of your garments in the future are going to be digitized? Whether or not they have digital fibers embedded within the actual textile that send RFID signals back and forth to other garments, or they have tiles that are either removable or embedded that start to speak to other garments. So what is the use case for this? Why would anyone need to digitize your clothing? Any ideas? Come on, get creative. Yes? What was that? Speak up. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Temperature in certain areas, that's a good application. Anything else? Why would items of clothing want to speak to another item of clothing? Yep. So exercise, tracking your body stats, heart rate, blood circulation, even your posture and form. There's a way, more playful application as well that I happen to love. Your garments talking to each other are going to start to tell you what is an outfit because it has been on your body with these other garments for 8 hours. And so they'll start to help you be able to get dressed every day. Your clothes will be telling you what to wear. So ads, promotion, sales, and distribution. I kind of mush these all together now because there is a massive convergence that is happening across this whole space. I love this. Advertising was king, but now advertising is a tax that only poor people pay. What does that mean? The lines have blurred for consumers, and brands have to adapt or die. So advertising being a tax that only poor people pay means that if you have money, you can pay for premium services, and you don't need to get spammed, much like with your premium Hulu or whatever online subscription. If you pay the premium option, you don't have to watch the ads. Now, you have platforms like Rent the Runway, which actually this is, where you can pay a monthly fee and get Rent the Runway Unlimited. And in Unlimited, you get a box of designer clothing every month. You can trade them out as frequently as you want, and you never have to be advertised to because these are things that you've already selected that you like. You can select when you want to have them in your closet, trade them out, they dry clean them. It's like Netflix of clothing, my clothing in the cloud. Trunk Club is another premium service. You're paying for someone else to do the work, so you don't need to be advertised to. Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is a female-founded company that is one of, I think it was last year's IPOs, went public, went from early stage startup to publicly traded company, and female-founded. She was profitable, which is unheard of. Most startups tend to think that profits are for suckers. I like profits, and I like companies that like profits as well. As an investor, I think it's critical for companies to focus on scaling successful business models that aren't just attracting eyeballs, but actually have a successful business model to scale. And Stitch Fix is one of those companies. Amazon Prime Wardrobe, we already discussed. Have any of you heard of the Amazon Look? Yeah? This is a camera, as if Amazon doesn't know enough about you. This is a camera you can invite into your home that is watching you. Are you okay with that? Anyone? Well, what if I told you that this camera, you could stand in front of it and have it take a picture, a selfie, and change your outfit, have it take another picture, and then rate which one looks better to help you get dressed every day. Is that okay? Still kind of creepy, I think. So I say this, and the brand holding companies that I've worked with get a little freaked out, but it is very true. Retail, as we know it, has committed suicide, and this is because of echo chambers. An echo chamber is basically when you hire consultancies and they tell you what you basically want to hear because that's safe enough, and they help you to iterate instead of truly innovate. And innovation is inherently disruptive. You have to be okay with failing because that's part of the process. And most of these existing large companies, that is not in their vocabulary. If you fail as a CEO, that means you have a down quarter, and that means your stockholders aren't happy, and that means you're going to be replaced probably next year. So if you're only focused on creating consistent profits without 1 or 2 down quarters to invest heavily in innovation, then you're never going to truly be disruptive. And that is the opportunity that companies like Amazon and now Farfetch are capitalizing on. They are tech companies, and they prioritize innovation. So Farfetch just went public, and do you know what it means to go public? Anyone? Questions? Public?
It's open for the general public.
Yes. So they're on the public markets. They're traded on the New York Stock Exchange or some other stock exchange, as opposed to privately held and invested in through venture capitalists, angel investors, et cetera. So these companies know that it requires true innovation to get a competitive edge, and it may require a temporary dip in your profits for long-term gains in competitive edge. Department stores. They kind of, if you look at this image, it looks kind of like a museum now. It's not your experience that you expect in a digitized world, and certainly not this. This is what stores are starting to look like. This is Rebecca Minkoff in New York City. She has a magic mirror that when you walk in, she recognizes you, and you can go up to it and in the fitting room, ask for different items. It can make recommendations of other items that someone could bring to you that go with the garment that you have in the fitting room. And this is all done through beacons. This is a company called Perch Interactive. And its premise is that if you pick up something in a store as a consumer, you are 60% more inclined to purchase it. So their whole point of existence is to get you to pick something up. And this display has actual items that you can pick up off of the display, and it's fully digitized, but it's not an interactive table. It's projected from above. And so there's nothing to break or damage. You pick it up and the whole table changes and starts telling you about the thing you just picked up. It's so cool. Stores are understanding that customers want services, and that the differentiation opportunity for brick and mortar is through better customer service, because you're there as a human being as opposed to online. Nordstrom is offering things like mani-pedis and tailoring services at their Nordstrom local. Kohl's and Amazon are collaborating for package pickup and return, and obviously Amazon acquired Whole Foods and has a whole produce and category for shopping food. So how do we create more meaningful experiences that engage customers? Most marketers would look at these 3 images and assume that this was the same person, all around the same age, female, lives in a city. Close enough, right? Well, no. Those women were obviously telling you they had very different interests, and you could get that data through social. These people are a tribe. They all have same values, they have same interests and brands that they're aligned to. They're a tribe that you can market to far more efficiently. Pop-up shops have been an interim step in the evolution of brick and mortar. They are a temporary space that can be a brand engagement or telling a specific type of story, or allow an emerging brand to come to brick and mortar for a limited time. But they still look like they're kind of replicating old school stores. What I call tribe shops are more like this. This is a storefront in New York called Story. They were recently acquired by Macy's because they are amazing at marketing to tribes and creating these experiences. So all of their tribe shops every month changes the entire store all of the types of products in it, all of the displays and advertising and in-store graphics are changed to that specific tribe and telling that specific story. So as you can see, they look very different. And if you are into art, you will want to make a note in your calendar, oh my God, the story that's coming is about art and design. I'm going to make sure I get there during that month to be able to experience it. 29 Rooms is a new event series that Refinery 29, a big media company in New York that has to do with fashion, they produce every year starting during Fashion Week. And this event is basically like Instagram heaven. You go there for the sole purpose of getting photos in these really cool spaces. But what I believe is that these are part of the future of retail. You are going to shop these amazing branded experiences, going to share that experience with your tribe and let them know where they can engage with the brand in a similar way. This is an interesting event. It's smaller, but Changing Room came to Puerto Rico about 3 years ago, and this event rents out a whole boutique hotel in the island, started in Barcelona about 10 years ago, and they curate the top emerging designers from around the globe, invite the top ones selected to actually sell in the boutique hotel over a 2-day period. And its invites are sent out to everyone in the local area. Some people fly in from around the world just to shop all of these curated emerging designers in one place over 2 days that you can't find anywhere else in the world. And it drives a lot of traffic, it creates an experience, and is definitely speaking to a specific tribe. Ethical and transparent. This is the future of our industry. Have you heard of Everlane? Yeah? Everlane, truly transparent company, and they've just now rolled out into retail stores, brick and mortar. There's more and more what I call digital native companies. These are companies that were created after the digital era that are started online, but are now going into brick and mortar. And they're seeing that there is a massive opportunity because 90% of consumers still like to shop in stores, especially for clothing, because you want to try it on. You want to see how it feels, you want to participate in the story. And wearing an Everlane product lets the world know that you're part of that tribe. People that are their consumers are proud of that label. This is a small designer in New York that I discovered at a Martha Stewart American Made event in 2015, Zero Waste Daniel. He takes those stacks of scraps, you see him standing on that pile of garbage basically, and he culls through it and creates what we call re-roll, new textiles that he weaves together of these old textile scraps, garbage, and sells it back to brands to create new garments with. Oh, genius. And then he also is such an amazing artist, he uses those scraps to actually design these amazing sweaters, t-shirts, dresses that are works of art. I believe there is a massive opportunity for artisanal supply chains that are just now being digitized and brought online. This is an example of one that I worked with, Tasha. They own a factory in Guatemala, and they employ about 50-something local natives who literally are still doing the tribal process of growing the plants to dye their fibers, to create their own textiles, and weaving these amazing patterns. As you can see, the molas and the woven textiles applied to the shoes, these are all hand done, the artisanal, ancient way that it's always been done in their area. And Tasha is bringing these products and this artisanal handcraft to the world by allowing these locals to be owners in the factory that she helps build. So you can order custom designed shoes, pick your textile, which is one of a kind, and have it custom made just for you within about 3 weeks. Customization, personalization, and on demand. So we started talking about how things are so upside down in the current fashion supply chain. Customization changes all of that. Customization alone has been proven to increase conversions by up to 350%. That's massive. But why isn't everyone doing it? Well, there's no supply chains that really allow for it. And the current paradigm is, oh, well, we have to buy in volume to be able to get to the right price point to sell that stuff halfway around the world. But most brands are currently burning their excess inventory. Just this year alone, H&M was held accountable for over $4 billion worth of unsold inventory. Trash, $4 billion worth of trash. So customization, there's lots of different ways to get there. This one is Bow & Drape, a company out of New York. My friend Aubrey Pagano is the founder, and she realized that there is a massive market to allow people to express themselves. She started trying to do fully customized garments, but she found the best margin was just in creating these bedazzled, sparkly shirts that you can express yourself through. So she's famous for You Had Me at Merlot. She has some pre-done that you can just purchase, but you can also write whatever you want as well. And she designs her own appliques, and you get to express yourself. You can have a pizza on there, you can have emojis, whatever you want. And big brands are doing this as well. So Nike in New York and a couple of stores around the country is starting to roll out their in-store customization. You can go into the store, select the type of shoe, scan your foot for the measurements, design what you want your shoe to look like, and then have it produced in store in an hour and a half to walk out with. Oh. Farfetch is, I believe, the Amazon of luxury fashion. If you haven't heard of them, you should, and you should look them up. They just went public, and they've focused on really creating the operating system for luxury brands. They are out of the UK, but they own the market on bringing luxury brands into their digital platform, as well as now brick and mortar. They've focused on creating an omni-channel, so digital data that can apply across every channel, whether it's online, mobile, brick and mortar, whatever, for all of the brands that use their platform. So again, Amazon is that universal platform for brands in the US, but Amazon owns your customer, Amazon owns your data, and all you do is you get maybe some of your sales, but as a brand, that's kind of terrifying because you don't have your most important assets. Amazon does. Your customer, your data is everything. Farfetch is far more friendly to their brands. They understand that to really reach scale, if you want everyone to be on your platform and just be the operating system instead of having to take on the overhead of actually producing garments and distributing them yourselves, it's a far more efficient business model. These are mannequins. What kind of tech do you think goes into mannequins? Any guesses? Come on. You ever been in brick and mortar and felt like someone's watching you? Well, the mannequins are. They have facial recognition technology, and they're tracking your happiness, your pattern of movement around the store, your purchases, your frequency, all kinds of data. Creepy, huh? You can now virtually try on garments as well. This is an augmented reality mirror. It reflects you back with your movements, but you can change your outfit just by clicking on whatever on the mirror. Another example of augmented reality in store, in brick and mortar. And beacons, beacons, beacons. So everything that we have on us these days is starting to send signals. I have an Apple Watch. I don't know how many of you do, but I'm sure all of you have phones. You all have smartphones, right? Lots of you? Well, your smartphones are sending signals passively, constantly, that you have not opted into. Are you aware of that? It's called the signal graph, and they can actually figure out your location, your interests, and steer you intentionally through a space to get you to a specific destination, and use that data to sell to you and retarget. I'm getting the wrap. This is what they look like in store. You can get specific targeted ads through mobile. And this is one of my favorite applications of what I call future commerce. You will be able to summon an autonomous vehicle to shop, and the shop will literally drive to you. I'm at the office and I have a cocktail event that evening, so I click the button on my phone just like I'd call an Uber, and I summon the autonomous shop for me, and it's loaded with things that will fit me, that are specific to the type of event that I need to go to, and I shop it and it goes on its merry way. Final thoughts. All right, I'm wrapping. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So fashion tech is massive. It's one of the last industries on our planet to be digitized. And there's a lot still to come. Some of my thoughts, blockchain and Internet of Things. Obviously, everything is going to start speaking to each other with that data. What are we going to do with it? What are the opportunities created by it? And what are some things maybe we want to prevent and be more conscious of? Future commerce and convergence. So future commerce is like that autonomous vehicle. There are so many channels that we can't even imagine today that will be coming that need some sort of nomenclature, so I'm just calling them future commerce. AI and personalized contextual recommendations. People are familiar with Amazon's "you bought this," or somebody like you bought this, and they bought that. That's not really relevant in context. It could be a book and a shoe. Contextual commerce, and what I had built with Shopsy, went through Techstars, is, for example, putting together an outfit. That's a meaningful context of disparate items in one head-to-toe look. So they're not all the same brand. It's not manually curated. It can be done algorithmically. And it'll be, with all the data we're sending off, it's more and more easy to do that. Localized, on-demand manufacturing hubs. I've been working towards building these in the US since 2014, and I'm working with huge global brands to get these off the ground. They're the future. You will be able to go there, recycle your old garments, custom design your new ones, and walk out with it within an hour. The signal graph we touched upon, privacy and service bots. This is important. So if everything is sending off signals, there are going to be huge opportunities to create privacy and service bots. You can go on your phone and say, this moment is not for sale. I don't want anyone to know the data around me and my children, on the weekends. So I will put a cone of silence around myself and all of the signals that I regularly send off. Massive opportunity. And then your personal data really is the new currency. You get to choose what to do with it, and through blockchain and all of these new platforms, you are more and more going to be owner of your own data. That's it. Any questions?